Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, taking scary out of used bikes, one bike at a time. Hey, I'm Justin, the guy. So today we're going to go over number 16 on the top 20 list. Yes, I was cheat seating there. Number 16 is stems. Stems and stems. The reason why I bring this up for stems, and yeah, obviously most people may know what the stem is, but they may not know where it goes on a bike. Well, the stem actually goes on this part right here where it holds the handlebars. That's what the stem is. And there's a couple hundred different lengths of stems, types of stems, all those things. So I'm not going to go with all the materials and yahoo that goes into them. I'm going to actually address more of a safety concern on stems and how people switch out stems for either different lengths and different heights, or there's many reasons why they'll switch out stems, including weight. Because a high-end stem, yeah, I have a nice one of those Klein behind me, has a nice carbon stem on there, and it lightens up. Usually these are pretty chunky. Like this one's really chunky. It's all alloy. So there's a lot of reasons why people will swap this out. And the reason why I bring this up is if it's done by a professional in a shop, they're going to switch out the stem and adjust the spacing stack correctly. That's the big issue on this particular episode, is there's little spacers that go underneath. Why is there spacers? Well, this is what the fork looks like inside the frame. Through the head tube, and this goes like right through here, and it's either a carbon or a steel shaft, and where it hits the actual headset, you'll have these spacers like so, and these spacers will determine how high that stem will go down onto the frame like so, or onto the steer tube. So the idea, and this is called the headset system. It started off in the 90s. Before that, it was all threaded, a whole booger mess of doing those. Hey, there's still nice ones out there, that kind of thing. Cool. But the newer ones, this has been pretty much the standard for the last good 20 plus years. So you'll see it on a majority of the used bikes. The idea is to be able to clamp it here with an adjuster cap to adjust the height, which I didn't pull one out. Oh, there they are. Which are these little guys that fit. It's basically a bolt and a spacer, and the spacer goes on top and catches the top there and pushes the stem down. Then when you adjust that, that's your adjuster bolt. Then you clamp these down or tighten them down so it clamps on there, and that's how you secure the stem. Well, this is not a segment on stem installation or adjustment, but what I have found when I've gone to work on bikes and also switch out, and I double check this too, I always pop these caps off. And you can take the cap off here without messing an adjustment, because these binder bolts, if they're tightened, you're not going to see that. But I would, take an Allen wrench, and hopefully you'll have an Allen wrench and a rag with you when you go inspect a bike, and just go ahead and unscrew that out. And when you unscrew that out, what you see here, you see a lot of space, and this top binder bolt is not clamping up against the top of the steer tube. And I'd have a couple blogs about this and get all bent out of shape, because this is a safety issue. If you ride, this may fail. And if that fails, guess what? Your handlebars, you got nowhere to go but down. And down's usually at a wrong time and a wrong speed, and you're going to end yourself up in the ER if you're lucky, if not the morgue. And so you want to make sure that this is correct. That what's correct? Glad I asked myself that. You want to have this down to where you have like 1 millimeter or 2 of exposure for adjustment on this. More importantly, this top binder bolt is actually underneath that metal material or the carbon material, depending what steer tube it is, that it can clamp onto to be secure. That's what you're shooting for. If it's the worst case scenario and you're like, oh, it's too much like this, well, grab yourself a spacer. And you can always have this sticking up a little and just put the spacer on top. A lot of people do that. Then you put your thing on top of there. Then it's really secure. It's really on there. Okay, it's like a couple millimeter adjustment that you may have lose for the height. That might be concerning to you, but if it, you know, by all these, this is tight, is dictated by these guys. So if that's too tight, you just take out one or two of these, whatever the distance you need. So that goes down on here and gets to that level. And if you need to put that extra spacer on top to make sure you have enough material to clamp onto. Pretty important. So the idea, you know, for somebody to switch it out, like this one has a higher stem, so it raises up. Definitely double check that when I got it to make sure they had appropriate spacing. It's just a little quick thing. Just don't assume that, oh, I got a new stem. Bloop, I'm gonna throw it on there, I'm good to go. Now you gotta make sure that stack height is correct. And that's the kind of what you're looking for. Or if you go a little bit lower, you put it back on there like that, just a recap. Then you can adjust it. It's a safety thing. Is it broken? No, it's just not safe. Just want to make sure. So another popular one is adjustable stems like this and adjust up and down. Well, you definitely want this to be in there. And some of these come with a shim. Back in the day, they used to be 1 inch instead of 1 1/8. These are 1 1/8 for the most common ones of today's standards. And this one has a 1 inch shim in there, which is fine. But you can have 1 inch shim in there to accommodate a narrower steer tube is 1 inch. But you can slide these guys out and slide over. So this will accommodate both. So if you get a stem, then you want to have different adjustments and so forth on there. So the stem, again, want to recap the 2 bolts here. Don't clamp it this way. That's not going to, you know, first it shouldn't look right to you. But this part here, where both come apart, that's where your handlebars fit in, and that's where they clamp onto. There's 2 major sizes. There's 26/6 and 31/8. 26/6 is the older one, which is the skinnier bar. 31/8 is the bigger one, which accommodates the wider, more beefier bar. More material to clamp onto. They're just aerodynamic and lighter weight is the main thing for those. So if you ever switch that out, this one's the 31/8, so it's a little bit beefier in here, as you can probably see. If you want to switch out, if you have an older one and want to switch out, you have to switch out your bars. But you can switch out your bars and also your stem and, you know, get it to more modernized. Reason being is the 26/6, they don't have as many available lengths and sizes and special carbon ones and so forth as all the newer ones of this one here, the 31/8. So that's something you want to consider. As the spacers go, these are the fancy little carbon ones. Really not too much difference between the weight-wise during alloy. Here's an alloy one, and carbon. And I bought, you know, little packets of these with different sizes to them, that kind of thing. So I had a couple little skinnier ones to do little adjustments, and a couple medium size, and a couple big stackers just to fill in the void. So it's nice to have a little pack. They weren't, you know, they're under $10. So I mean, it's something you can get and swap out yourself if you want. And especially if you have a bike that has mixed matched ones, you want to be more matchy. And the carbon one's kind of cute, you know, it has the carbon inlay on there. So, you know, that kind of thing. Just make sure you get the stem down far enough and either have 2 millimeter gap from the top edge, or do the swaps, you know, have one on top, just to make sure that stem is in there and secure. So hopefully this information helps you, making sure it's safe to ride. That's the main point here. If you like these videos, please subscribe. Again, have a wonderful day. Thank you for spending time with me. Until next time, from the garage.